And that is a blatant lie. And that's my problem with this whole due process conversation. If you're a murderer,
take it up with the White House. What I'm telling you is,
you take it up with the courts. That's what's due process.
The courts are taking it up again.
No, they're not. Garcia was never seen in a court of law. What are you talking about? I want to talk to you about immigration, because this has been a hot topic for a long time. But due process. You're an attorney, David.
Yeah.
Okay. There are people in this country that are not getting due process. It's very clear in our Constitution. They don't say whether you're documented or undocumented, legal or not. They say any person has the right to due process. Person. They specifically use that term. There are people in this country, legal or not, that are not getting due process. There was a 4-year-old, a legal citizen with cancer that was deported. There was a woman that was breastfeeding her 1-year-old daughter that was separated from her family that did not get due process. This man, Mr. Garcia, never proven in a court of law that he is a gang member, never proven in a court of law.
Are we still pretending he's not a gang member, Abrego Garcia? Are we still pretending he wasn't MS-13? Are we still going with that?
Where was that proven?
What do you mean? Where was that proven?
Yeah,
it was in police reports, in the video, and from when he was when he was literally pulled over and he was human trafficking, in the restraining order where he was beating his wife. Are these the people you guys want to defend?
Okay, so let's talk about
tattoos.
Okay.
It was and by the way, when he came to the United States and after he applied for asylum a year late and he wasn't granted asylum because he failed to even tell anybody he was here, he reported that he was fleeing gang violence. Are we going to pretend this guy is like a Girl Scout cookie salesman?
Are we going to pretend that you're not an attorney because there's something called the rule of law?
We can talk about that, but don't try to pretend that Abrego Garcia is a defined outstanding citizen. He's a gang member who snuck into the United States and beat his wife. I mean,
okay, and I'm going to ask you again, where was that proven in a court of law?
What do you mean, where was it proven? The restraining order says there was enough proof.
No. Where was it proven in a court of law that he beat his wife? Was he charged with a crime?
Was his wife lying? Was his wife lying?
Were the 25 women lying that accused Donald Trump of raping them?
Well, you believe the women who accused Donald Trump weren't lying, right? Because you've attacked me on that plenty of times. So you're telling me that Abrego Garcia. Go ahead, Brian. I don't want to overtalk you. Go ahead.
Okay, let me be very clear. Donald Trump was proven to be a liable sexual abuser in a court of law. There are 25 women that have come forward. Now, if you can find me 25 women that came forward that are saying that Garcia beat them, then I might have a different opinion as well. But hold on. There's something called the rule of law in this country. You know,
we can talk about the rule of law.
Okay. Well, it's very simple. You can talk about accusations. Here's the bottom line. This man did not get due process. There is a gay hairstylist who went through a legal port of entry from Syria to come into this country. And the only proof that they had that he's an alleged gang member was 2 tattoos. Do you know what those 2 tattoos are that are on his body? Mom and dad. He did not get due process. Nothing, never convicted of violent crime.
You skipped a huge step of due process. How did he get into the country?
He went through a legal port of entry. He tried to do it the right way. He was seeking asylum.
Did he get in?
That he did not. No.
So how did he end up here?
He tried to get in through a legal port. That's all I know. And here's the important.
You're missing a huge step here, Brian. How did he end up in the country?
So if you're in this country illegally, you're okay with the people who are nonviolent criminals being deported to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world. You're okay with that? Tell me with a straight face you're okay with that.
I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem. But what I'm trying to tell you is the Supreme Court has spoken about this, and they have said that they're entitled to due process. They've sent it back to the lower courts to determine whether or not these people had due process and what that process looks like.
You care about the Supreme Court, then why was it the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that Donald Trump needed to facilitate the return of Garcia? If you want to quote,
they didn't say he needed to facilitate it. They did not.
What did they say?
Did not say they needed to facilitate it. What they said was he didn't have the due. It needed to be evaluated whether or not he had the due process. But the Supreme Court the president of the United States cannot compel a foreign government to illegally import somebody into the United States. It did not say he had no power to facilitate it. That is the issue, Brian. What is President Trump? You heard the president of El Salvador say, nope, he's staying here. Are we supposed to you want to go to war with him and take him out of the prison there?
You're smart enough to understand that if Donald Trump just said, hey, send him back, that's exactly what they would have done. You know that. Donald Trump didn't want it to happen. The man didn't get due process. Supreme Court ruled 9-0, and they are defying the Supreme Court. They're defying judges. They're attacking judges and their families and the character of these judges.
Attacking judges.
They don't like her. Donald Trump has done that. He's been doing it for the last 20 years.
Because I believe it was Brett Kavanaugh.
Lunatic
tried to murder him because because of the rhetoric coming from the left. So explain what Trump is doing to threaten judges.
Okay,
exactly.
so I'll do whataboutism if you want to, but let's just.
That's not whataboutism. It's a
well,
fact.
it is. Okay. Listen, I don't condone, and I said this on Piers Morgan. Sure. Any rhetoric that would go after a judge or a judge's family. That's why it's whataboutism. We're talking about Donald Trump because right now he's the president of the United States, and this is what we're talking about. There have been judges where he's called them radical left judges. He's gone after members of their family.
To say somebody's acting radical?
Yes, it absolutely is.
Well, then let's talk about what happened in D.C. This is a perfect segue to talk about what happened in D.C.
Okay, I'm happy to do that with you, but just to stick on this issue for another moment, these people are not getting due process.
But I disagree with you that they're not getting due process.
So someone with no violent criminal record, you just said you're okay with them being sent over to one of the most maximum security prisons in the world. You're totally okay with that.
You can highlight the facts that you find most offensive, that your audience will find most offensive. But what I'm telling you is you keep skipping the part of how did they get here to begin with? They didn't come here legally. So we have people who are legally present in the United States. And in the case of Abrego Garcia, he had his wife had a restraining order against him because he beat her. He was caught trafficking. He was caught. Yeah, right. He was caught.
No, actually, she said that on the record. She said that on the record in media interviews.
He was caught He was caught in a human trafficking operation.
What was he charged with? What are the charges? Tell me what he was charged with.
The only thing that matters that he was charged with is coming into the United States illegally. He didn't have a right to be here. Why is that so difficult for people to understand? If you're in the country illegally, you can be removed by any means necessary. And if that means you end up in a high security prison in your home country, don't come into our country illegally. It's pretty freaking obvious, Brian.
So according by your standards, if you're a 75-year-old woman,
I don't care if you're a baker.
Hold on. I just want to make sure I get your opinion right.
Yeah.
75-year-old women with 5 grandkids and
I don't
4.
Fine.
I know you don't care, but
Mother Teresa. Yes, Mother Teresa crosses the border illegally.
I want to set this right.
Yeah.
You've been in this country 50 years. You pay your taxes. You're not a violent criminal. You have kids. You have a family and all that stuff. You're totally okay with that 75-year-old grandmother who's never committed a violent crime in their life because they're undocumented to be sent to a high maximum security.
That's not happening, Brian. Where is the 75-year-old woman being deported to the El Salvador's? That's not happening.
I just gave you an listen. By your standard, you're saying if it did happen, you'd be okay with it.
Brian, no. What I'm saying is gang members who have illegally entered the United States.
The hairstylist is not a gang member. There's no evidence that he was a gang member. He has a tattoo of mom and dad on him. He's never been a violent criminal his entire life. You're saying you're okay with that. So don't say
you could focus on the hairstylist all you want.
What I'm telling on one person because
whatever. What I'm telling focus on. How about you focus on the thousands of illegals that murdered Americans? Focus on the killer of Laken Riley, who murdered an American who was here illegally. Do you want to go and give them? Let him move in next door to you, Brian. They're such nice people.
All, you are trying to conflate somebody.
So are you.
No,
You're trying to suggest that 75-year-old grandparents are being sent to El Salvador, brother. It's not happening.
You're the one conflating, and I'm not, and I will tell you why.
Sure.
Somebody who comes into this country and commits a violent crime, I want them out. If somebody is in this country like this hairstylist, legal or not, and they're not a violent criminal, you are comparing them to a violent murder criminal. That is inappropriate. In fact, you have a better chance to be the victim of a violent crime from a U.S. citizen than you do somebody who is undocumented. You are conflating somebody who commits a violent murder to somebody who comes into this country seeking asylum or somebody who's lived here for decades. You say you're not okay with a 75-year-old being sent over there. Then why would you be okay with a 50-year-old being sent over there who's a hairstylist who's never committed a violent crime in their life? Why can't you just say that's wrong?
So the issue is, what you're talking about is, well, sure, once they murder an American, we should send them to the worst place possible. They shouldn't be here to begin with. The opportunity for them to kill Americans shouldn't happen. Now, in the case of the people who have been here for 50 years, this is the David Pollack opinion. And by the way, Trump has already offered people $1,000 to self-deport with an app.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll work. That's a great idea.
Well, they can.
I'm sure that'll work. I'll give him $1,000 to self-deport. I'm sure that'll work.
I'm just saying, they've offered the people the opportunity.
He's also offering a $5 million gold card to come into the country. His ideas
that's a great idea too. That's a fantastic idea.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Brian, you'd rather have illegal aliens that are gang members than somebody who has $5 million to contribute to our economy?
You
care about America?
With the fact that people that come into this country are all gang members and murderers. I didn't
say they were all gang members and murderers.
You're making it sound like they are.
You are framing everybody who's in this country legally as being like cosmetologists.
Never said that. I never said that. What I'm telling you is that there are people in this country that are not getting due process, and some of these people are very good people. They're not bad people, and they shouldn't be sent to a high maximum security prison in El Salvador. Yes, some of them
How many people have been sent to El Salvador?
I think it was somewhere around 260 people in 60 minutes to the story, which clearly you didn't see.
How many illegals are presently living in America?
Wait, hold on. Let's go one at a time.
I just want to know.
Let's go one at a time. 260 people were sent to El Salvador.
260 people.
And over 60% of those people are non-violent criminals that have no criminal record. You as an attorney,
where do you get that information? Where does that information come from? The 60%.
It was reported by 60 Minutes because I did background checks on all the people that were sent over there because they did their homework. And obviously the Trump administration didn't do that because they haven't shown any evidence or proof that so many of these people are gang members. They have tattoos. Guess what? If you have a tattoo on yourself, that doesn't mean that you deserve to be sent to an El Salvador prison for the rest of your life. In this country, if I have a tattoo on my forehead that says I'm in a gang, that doesn't mean I go to jail, David. That doesn't mean I go to jail. That's not enough to send somebody to a high maximum security prison. I don't agree with deporting people if they're illegal, if they're nonviolent criminals, but that's different. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about sending people to a high maximum security prison, one of the biggest in the country, in the world. And you seem to be okay with that because of other murderers and gang members. That's absurd. That's like saying if somebody gets arrested, I don't know, for a speeding ticket, they deserve to go to jail because there's so many murderers in the United States of America. David, what you're saying doesn't make sense. You have to treat every individual differently. If you're a murderer or a violent criminal, I feel a lot differently about you than if you're a gay hairstylist coming into this country illegally who has never committed a violent crime in your life. You're not a gang member and you have 2 tattoos that say mom and dad. Why is that hard to understand?
There are 11 million illegals present in the United States. 11 million. Now, I'm not good at math. That's why I became a lawyer. But 260 people out of 11 million is not rounding up all of the people and sending them to El Salvador. So let's just be clear on that. You're upset that the 200, and this is what you're claiming, that of the 260 people sent to the El Salvador jail, you're saying a large percentage of those people weren't violent. They weren't even gang members. They were sent there improperly without due process, correct?
Absolutely. I'm not just saying that. That's just a fact. Even the White House is basically admitting that.
The White House hasn't admitted that.
And that's why the Supreme Court has ruled 9-0 with this guy Garcia. And that's why other judges have ruled the same. They're not giving these people due process. And David, here's the problem. It could be 11 million people and one person. Everybody in this country deserves due process. Our Constitution says that. I hear from MAGA Republicans.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
That's what our Constitution says. They say person, not undocumented. And that's why I say Donald Trump and his administration and Holman, they are defying our Constitution. They are defying the Supreme Court. And I'm shocked that you're an attorney and you're okay with that.
I see you're suggesting that I don't think people deserve due process. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm telling you is, and what the Constitution requires when you're looking at due process, is you have to evaluate what process is due. And that's the thing. So when you're looking at the Constitution, you have to ask, are these people being deprived of life, liberty, property without due process, right? Fifth Amendment or 14th Amendment, that the state can't deprive the person. Then the second question of that is, what process is due once you have evaluated that one of these 3 things are being taken from them, correct? These people had the opportunity to claim asylum when they came in. They had due process at that moment because when they crossed the border, when they tried to cross the border legally, if they did go through a legal port of entry, our laws provide a system where you can claim asylum if you are fit the criteria for qualifying. So the people that you're talking about that are here illegally, they didn't even apply themselves for due process because they didn't even seek the due process, Brian.
That's not what the White House is saying. They're claiming that they're all
what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is, you said, David, you as a lawyer, I'm shocked that you don't believe in due process.
And what I'm telling you is, doing, David, that's not what the White House is doing. They're claiming that all these people are violent criminals, thugs, and gang members, and that is a blatant lie. And that's my problem with this whole due process conversation. If you're a murderer,
take it up with the White House. What I'm telling you is,
you take it up with the courts. That's what's due process.
The courts are taking it up again.
No, they're not. Garcia was never seen in a court of law. What are you talking about?
The Supreme Court decided his case, didn't they? Is that
No.
not due process?
No, they did.
What is due process to you then, Brian?
The Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump needs to facilitate the return of Garcia. That's the exact language that they used. Why are you denying that? He never had his day in a courtroom. They literally said facilitate. That's the word that the Supreme Court used, and they ruled 9-0. He's defying the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court and the President of the United States do not have the authority to demand somebody that's not a citizen be brought to the United States for due process. That is not something that they're even legally obligated or authorized to do. The President of El Salvador said no. What is
why? And if Donald Trump just did what the Supreme Court asked him to do, which would be to facilitate, meaning tell this man to help facilitate the return of Garcia, you and I both know he would have been back here within 24 hours.
Trump,
it didn't happen.
I don't expect the President of the United States to leverage the power of our country to convince a president who is helping us curb illegal gang immigration to compel him to return somebody who doesn't have a right to be here to begin with. That's not a good guy. Why would you want the president taking resources from the American people to bring a criminal gang member from El Salvador to the... Why? Why is this the hill you guys are choosing to die on? I don't understand this.
Okay, it's more than just one person, David. I see you don't understand it, and I'll explain it to you.
I don't understand your rationale because the American people don't agree with you on this, Brian.
That's actually not true.
People don't agree with you.
MAGA Republicans don't agree with me.
No, most of the country disagrees with you.
According to what poll? What are you talking about?
All of them. The presidential election, where immigration was the number one issue.
He's got 39% approval ratings the first 100 days, which are some of the worst numbers in 70 years. So I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know.
Sir, what time is your Klan meeting tonight? I don't want you to be late to your Klan meeting.
I don't have one.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm sure you don't. Why
don't
you go ahead and put on your white Klan outfit and have a nice day? You bumbling MAGA imbecile fool, you. I believe Aaron is a MAGA supporter. We always welcome MAGA supporters to call into the show. Hello, Aaron.
Is that a question or a statement?
I'm sorry, what? Come again?
Is that a question or a statement?
Is that a crust in your statement? I don't even know what you're saying, sir. Would you like to have a serious conversation, or are you just going to say something stupid? Because if you did vote for Donald Trump, all right, let's start there. Aaron, let's see if we could have an adult conversation. Is that fair? You think we can do that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you calling in, Aaron. Let's try to start over. So, who did you vote for? Are you a Trump supporter? Is that fair to say? Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So, tell me what you like about what Donald Trump has done here in the first 6 months. What do you like?
He closed the border. He built the he built the prison, and he's taken America back.
He broke the prison.
He built the prison.
He built which prison are you referring to that he built?
Alligator Alcatraz.
Gotcha. So you're okay with nonviolent criminals being in Alligator Alcatraz? You're okay with that?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, so if you're a nonviolent criminal, you're totally okay with somebody being in like solitary confinement and sent to an El Salvador prison, and somebody who's never committed a violent crime in their life. You're totally okay with somebody like that being sent to a prison like that, being treated inhumanely, someone who's never committed a violent crime. You're okay with that?
Oh, well, if they came in illegally, then yeah, they have to. I mean, they have Wi-Fi, they have air conditioning. I mean, on my tax dollars.
They have Wi-Fi, they have air conditioning. So if you've never committed a violent crime in your life, Aaron, you're totally okay with somebody being sent to an El Salvador prison, in some cases a prison where they haven't even been born in that country, being separated from their families. So if you've lived here for 20 years, you've never committed a violent crime in your life, and you have kids here, you're totally okay with an ICE agent taking you, ripping you from your family, and being sent to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world. And Aaron, you have no problem with that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they came in illegally, then they have to pay the consequences.
So the consequences. So what are the consequences of being a 34-count felon?
Nothing. He wasn't convicted.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. You have no idea he wasn't sentenced, but he was convicted. You have no idea what you're talking about. Hold on. Do you know the difference between being sentenced and being convicted? Do you not understand the difference? A jury found him guilty. Do you not understand that? Because it's hard for me to have a conversation with you, Aaron, with respect, if you don't even understand the fact that Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Do you not understand that?
Yeah, but he didn't go to jail, so
Okay,
he's fine by me.
the question wasn't he didn't go to jail. Okay, let's talk about consequences. Since you think if you break the law, you deserve consequences. What were the consequences of Donald Trump after he was convicted on 34 felony counts? What were those consequences? Since you care so much.
He won.
What do you mean? That's not a consequence. He did not. He's a convicted felon, a 34 count felon. You're talking to me. You care about people that break the law and there needs to be consequences. We'll agree to disagree on the way that some of these undocumented immigrants are being treated, but going by your own standards, if you think if you break the law, there needs to be consequences, please tell me what the consequences of your Sir Orange leader, who is a 34 count convicted felon. What were his consequences?
Like, what do you mean?
What do I mean? Do I stutter? Do I stutter? I'll repeat it. Donald Trump is a 34 count convicted felon, proven in a court of law. You just said you care about consequences. If you're in here illegally, you broke the law. Those are your consequences. What were the consequences of Donald Trump, who was convicted in a court of law of 34 felony counts? Answer the question.
He didn't have any.
Okay. Again, I can't have a good faith conversation with you when you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I'm going to repeat this.
I don't know how to answer that.
Okay,
like,
well, you don't know how to answer it because you're a hypocrite. The guy who you support, I'm going to repeat it once again, okay? I'm going to say it once again. Get the MAGA wax out of your ears. He is a 34 count convicted felon, proven in a court of law, a jury of his peers. What were the consequences? Do you think Donald Trump should have had some consequences? He's a 34 count convicted felon. You seem to want to have consequences for someone who's in this country illegally to be sent to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world. By the way, that's not a felony. Donald Trump, the guy who you voted for, is a 34 count felon. Should he be sent to an El Salvador prison?
If he's treated well, sure.
So the guy who you voted for, who you still support, you are admitting he should probably be sent to an El Salvador prison, yet you have no problem voting for him to be the leader of the free world. Do you realize how ridiculous you sound, Aaron?
I don't. I mean, what do you want? No, he went through the system. He did his best, and that's that.
He went through the system. He did his best, but you want accountability. If you're in this country illegally, you claim that you want accountability. Where was the accountability?
He was born here. This is his country from his ancestors.
Gotcha.
And he's closing the border.
So hold on a second. We'll get to the border in a second. So you're saying that if you're not born here, you don't get due process? You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what does it say in the Constitution about that? Are you aware, sir?
Look, I'm not an expert on it.
Okay. Well, obviously you're not an expert on anything, so I'll help you out. Okay. In the Constitution, my congresswoman
fights hard every day.
Sir, I'm trying to help you out here, so I'll try to educate you. You see, in the Constitution, it doesn't say any citizen gets due process. It says any person, a person. So let me ask you this, sir: if you're in this country illegally, are you a person?
It depends.
No, it doesn't depend. No, it doesn't depend. In the Constitution, it says any person has the right to due process. I'm going to ask you that same question again. If you need a couple seconds to think about it, sir, because I know it's a really hard question for you to answer. In this country, if you're in this country, if you're undocumented, are you considered a person? Are you a human being? Are you a person? Yes or no?
Are they a citizen?
That wasn't the question. You don't answer a question with a question, and I'm going to repeat it once again. And this is the last time I'm going to ask you. In the Constitution, it doesn't say any citizen deserves due process. Our forefathers said any person. My question to you, sir, is if you're undocumented in this country, are you a person? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're an imbecile. You don't know what's in the Constitution. Any person deserves due process. The orange orangutan rapist who you support is ripping up our Constitution. You should be upset about that, but you don't seem to be upset about that at all. You don't know what's in the Constitution. You don't seem to want consequences for somebody if they're white or orange, if they were born in this country. But you want all of the responsibility and all the consequences if you're brown and you weren't born in this country. Sir, are you a racist?
No.
So you think black people should be treated the same as white people? Is that a fair thing for you to say? Yeah.
This has nothing to do with race.
Oh, it doesn't. Then if it doesn't have anything to do with race, then why did Donald Trump allow dozens of white people from South Africa to come into this country? Has he ever done that for brown people?
They were seeking asylum.
Right. So can you give me an example of dozens of people that are brown that were seeking asylum where Trump and his administration gave them asylum?
They were nation shopping.
I'm asking you a question. I need you to focus. Dozens of white people, 100% white from South Africa. Donald Trump and his administration welcomed them with open arms. Has he done that for brown people from other countries in the first 6 months? Yes or no?
They're staying at the Roosevelt. What do you want? And getting a free phone.
I didn't ask you if they were staying at the Roosevelt. The question was, has he done that for brown people? The answer is yes or no. By the way, the answer is no. Do you find it kind of convenient, sir? Do you find that convenient? Or is that just a coincidence?
I don't know.
Sir, what time is your Klan meeting tonight? I don't want you to be late to your Klan meeting.
I don't have one.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm sure you don't. Why
don't
don't you go ahead and put on your white Klan outfit and have a nice day? You bumbling MAGA imbecile fool, you. You don't know what's in the Constitution. You want accountability for brown people. You have no problem with an undocumented immigrant who's been in this country for decades that has never committed a violent crime to be sent to Alligator Alcatraz, but a 34-count felon, you don't want any accountability, and your only excuse to that is he was born in the country. That makes you an idiot. I hope you are deported. I hope you're sent to Gaza and you're never allowed back, because it's idiots like you that made Donald Trump president of the United States, and you're an embarrassment.
He had deportation orders already.
He did not have due process. He did not have due process. And regardless of what you might think of him, he did not have due process. No, he did not have due process. And how about the gay hairstylist who had 2 tattoos on his body, came in through a legal port of entry, tried to do it the right way, seeking asylum, 2 tattoos that said mom and dad. He is now in an El Salvador prison, never been convicted of a crime in his life, a non-violent criminal. Are you going to make excuses for him being shipped to El Salvador as well?
But what you're saying is that Trump is giving tax breaks to his friends. And what I'm saying to you is this is a administration to administration problem. It happens every administration.
So why don't you apply that when it comes to illegal immigration? If it happens from administration, why don't you apply that to immigration then? Because it was a problem under George W. Bush. It was a problem under Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and it will continue to be a problem. Why don't you give that same energy to the fact that we have issues at the border and stop just blaming Joe Biden then, if you want to go by that theory of, well, this is a problem in every administration. Okay.
So I do give that across the board to every administration. Republicans and Democrats have both benefited from illegal immigration, which is why they didn't want to solve the problem. Biden made it exponentially worse. Barack Obama tried to solve it. Bill Clinton tried to solve it. Joe Biden kicked the door open and held it. There's a giant difference with what happened on the Biden administration than previous. Oh, come on.
I disagree
with
what
happened to previous Democratic administration. It's provable fact.
Are you okay with America? Are you okay with people in this country not having due process? Are you okay with him ripping up parts of the Constitution?
I am not okay with suspending habeas corpus, and I've said that publicly.
Are you okay with somebody in this country, a human being, not getting the right to due process?
Are they citizens?
In the Constitution, it doesn't say citizen, it says person, which is why I'm phrasing the question accurately based on our Constitution.
I believe the founders thought citizen was probably understood. I don't think if you're not a citizen in this country,
okay,
you're not.
Carmine, you can't change Carmine, you can't change the wording of the Constitution to fit your narrative or your answer. I'm going by exactly what the Constitution says. It says person.
They could have the Supreme Court has to decide what the founders intended. And I believe they intended that to be for citizens. I think they believed it was understood.
So you respect the Supreme Court and what they decide, correct?
I don't always agree with it.
But you have to respect it, right? Is that okay, good.
Yeah.
So when they decide 9-0 that Donald Trump has to help facilitate the return of Mr. Garcia, and he ignores that, what do you think about that? I'm just curious.
That's not what they decided.
No, they did. That's actually the actual verbatim wording, that facilitate. The Trump administration has to help facilitate the return of Garcia.
He has to do his best. He has to do his best to facilitate.
And what did he do? What did he do?
He did his best.
What did he do?
He asked the Ecuadorian president.
No, he didn't.
Ecuadorian president said, can't do it.
No, he didn't.
That's it.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. You know that's not true. You're not being honest. If Donald Trump wanted Garcia to come back, all he would have had to have said was bring him back. You know that's not what happened. You're not being honest.
If If Garcia comes back, can he live with you, the gangbanger,
Okay,
the
so
wife abuser,
okay, so was he convicted in a court of law of abusing his wife?
the human trafficker?
Was he convicted in a court of law of anything that you are referring to?
Oh, so you don't believe all women? You think his wife just filed 2 restraining orders?
Was he convicted in a court of law? Why won't you answer that
you
question?
believe his wife was lying? Do you believe his wife was lying?
I will answer your question, but first I would like to ask you: was he convicted on any of those?
No, he wasn't convicted in the court of law. You think his wife was lying?
So we've come to the conclusion that even though there's not a conviction, you're just going to assume that he's guilty. Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? Number two, it's his own wife that wants him back. So his own wife wants him back.
A lot of abused women protect their abusers.
So you believe her then? You believe a woman when she says she was abused? Is that a fair characterization?
I believe this woman.
But you don't believe any woman that's come forward that says Donald Trump has abused them. There's 25 women that have come forward that have claimed that Donald Trump abused them or raped them. Do you believe any of them?
Because there's a financial incentive for them. What's the financial incentive for this gang?
Not true. The only person that got a financial incentive, there were 2 people, was E. Jean Carroll, who was found Donald Trump liable of sexual abuse, and Donald Trump's ex-wife.
You really believe E. Jean Carroll? Seriously, you really believe E. Jean Carroll?
Okay, so if it fits your narrative, you don't believe any of the women that claim Donald Trump raped them. But if it's a minority who was sent to an El Salvador prison,
minority, get out of here with that nonsense.
Is it not a minority?
He's a minority.
Well, the Donald Trump amendment, the Donald Trump
gangbanger.
And where was that proven in a court of law?
A court found that it was more likely than not that he was a member of
That's not what I asked you. What was it found in a court of law that he is a, quote, gangbanger? By the way, you can be in a gang. That's not against the law. You actually have to commit a crime. Okay, that's not a crime.
Are you familiar with MS-13? Do you know how MS-13 works?
Where has it been proven that he is an MS-13 member in a court of law in the United States of America? Going back to my due process question.
Well, I mean, the symbols on his knuckles stands for MS-13. That's a clue.
Not true.
No,
that is
true.
That has been completely debunked, and that is not true. And Donald Trump
has not been debunked.
Completely debunked, and that is not true. And by the way, just because you have tattoos, so if I have a tattoo on my forehead that says MS-13, does that mean I should be shipped to an El Salvador prison as well? My producer has tattoos on his arm. It's a clue. So if you get a clue in the United States of America, a clue unproven in a court of law, we can send you to one of the most highest maximum security prisons in the world with no due process. And Carmine is okay with that.
Brian, he doesn't have a right to be here to begin with. You're talking about bringing a guy back. He doesn't have a right.
He doesn't have a right to be here to begin with. So we should be able to give him no due process and send him to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world. What about the gay?
He had deportation orders already.
He did not have due process. He did not have due process. And regardless of what you might think of him, he did not have due process. No, he did not have due process. And how about the gay hairstylist who had 2 tattoos on his body, came in through a legal port of entry, tried to do it the right way, seeking asylum, 2 tattoos that said mom and dad. He is now in an El Salvador prison, never been convicted of a crime in his life, a non-violent criminal. Are you going to make excuses for him being shipped to El Salvador as well?
I felt bad for that guy.
Okay, so you feel bad for him. It's one thing to feel bad though, but don't you think that maybe the Trump administration should send these people back? And maybe if they
you and I both know if even one of those people comes back, then in a court of law, that would prove that the administration can get people back, and then they'd have to bring back slews of people. So he can't.
Well, maybe just give people due process and go by what our own Constitution says, which says any person, not citizen. You guys always talk about the Constitution. Why don't you talk about the Constitution and with upholding the Constitution when Donald Trump rips it up? Why all of a sudden are you guys not constitutionalists?
But they don't belong here anyway, Brian. That's the point you're missing. They don't belong here.
They don't belong here, so send them to an El Salvador prison, one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world, because they're a non-violent criminal, but they might be undocumented. You're okay with that?
I'm just send them out of the country. I don't care where you send them.
So it could be a high maximum security prison. So a mother who's lived here for 30 or 40 years, undocumented, that pays her taxes, that has never committed a violent crime in her life, or a grandmother for that matter, by your standards, if they're undocumented, you don't care where they send them, quote. You can send them to Gaza, you can send them to an El Salvador prison, and Carmine is totally okay with that, because if they're undocumented, I don't care. Send them wherever you want to. That's your...
I don't think you got to get extreme and send them to Gaza.
That's what Donald Trump... What's the difference between the difference between sending somebody to Gaza and sending somebody to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world in El Salvador? What's the difference?
Well, see, there you go. Maximum security. They have maximum security there. They're secure. What I'm saying to you is if somebody, a grandmother, and I feel bad for them, sure, but somebody's in this country 30, 40 years paying their taxes. They had 30, 40 years to try to do it legally, and they didn't. Sounds like it's their problem.
I can't believe you're okay with that.
Sounds like a them problem.
I can't believe you're okay with that. I cannot believe you're okay with that.
In 30, 40 years, why wouldn't they try to do it the right way?
So because I'll tell you why. You want to give me, I'll give you an answer. First of all, Republicans keep making it more difficult for people to be naturalized citizens. It takes on average somewhere around 10 to 15 years. Do you know the party that's trying to make it easier, a pathway to citizenship? The left, Democrats. Republicans are not making it easier. It takes 10 to 15 years. You're making it sound like it's easy just to pick up a driver's license at the DMV. It's not.
But you can get a green card, bro. You can get a green card. You can.
So why isn't Donald Trump doing anything for those people that overstay their visas? Why is it that a man from Egypt comes into this country and then his visa's expired, by the way, under Donald Trump, but yet on the list that Donald Trump put out, he didn't put after that Boulder attack, he didn't put Egypt on that list. Why is that? Even though they claim the reason.
I'll tell you why that is.
Why is that?
I'll tell you why that is.
Why is that?
I'll be glad to answer that question because we have a relationship with Egypt. We can vet the people there. This guy is a nut. Overstayed his visa, did something evil. There's American citizens who do things that are evil. But what I'm saying to you is we can vet the people coming from there. We can't vet the people coming from Venezuela. We can't vet the people coming from Iran. We can't vet those people. How can we allow people to come in who we cannot vet? You're in favor of that? You're in favor of bringing in people that we don't know who they are, where they're from?
So
that's crazy.
So you're all for vetting people. But yet, if somebody is undocumented in this country, you're okay with them not getting due process and being sent to an El Salvador prison. The inconsistencies with vetting is very
undocumented, but the word is illegal, as in against the law.
Okay,
against the law.
Got you. So if you're a 34 count felon, would you say that's against the law if you want to go by those standards?
Sure, I would say it's against the law. And if people vote for you, then you get to be president.
So as long as so you're totally okay with that. A 34 count felon could be the president of the United States. But if you're an undocumented immigrant, a mother that's lived here 30 or 40 years, send them to an El Salvador
people is a hell of a jury.
I just find it.
People is a hell of a jury. They decided.
I just find it convenient, though, that you want to talk about this guy Garcia. Never been proven in a court of law that he put his hands on his wife, but yet you want to believe her. But yet 25 plus women that have accused Trump of rape. You don't believe any of them. I find that very politically convenient that you have that opinion.